Tommy with Elevation Every Weekend. Welcome back to the channel. In late 2025, Vee Tire Company reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in testing any of their tires. I had always been interested in one of, if not the largest volume tires on the market for fat bikes, the Vee Snowshoe 2XL in the 26 by 5.05 inch size. So I accepted their offer and requested these tires for my 2020 Surly ice cream truck. Unfortunately, this has been pretty much a record low snowpack for Colorado since they've been keeping detailed records at least. And as a result of that, it has taken me some time to get up in the mountains and really test these tires in the backcountry. But while I was waiting for the snow to come, I did do some testing with these tires in the dirt. I'm going to really focus on the performance of these tires in this video. Check out the first look video I did, and I'll link it at the end of this video and in the comments down below. So let's get started with the dirt performance. Now when it comes to riding in the dirt, especially the faster, flowy riding I typically do on my local trails, massive tire volume, aggressive tread, and a huge contact patch, combined with these tires having a 72 TPI casing, there's definitely going to be a weight and rolling resistance penalty in these conditions. But most people who own and enjoy riding fat bikes will ride a variety of terrain with their bike. And in my own vast experience with a number of fat bikes, I bet I've done close to 90% of my riding over thousands of miles in conditions other than snow with my fat bikes. So with all that being said, these tires performed about as I expected in the dirt. So let's start with some pros. There's absolutely epic traction when cornering with these tires. And with that extra weight and mass, they definitely have good inertia and really carry speed well, especially when you're going downhill. And the massive tire volume soaks up all of the smaller, higher frequency vibrations and bumps. And it also does a great job neutralizing larger objects, like bigger rocks and roots. These things just get absorbed by the tire volume. And even conditions like riding washboard road at higher speed on a rigid Surly frame is surprisingly comfortable. So now onto some cons again when riding in the dirt. Obviously, the weight is something you do really feel, and these tires won't be ideal if you're doing a lot of climbing. And also not a surprise, the epic traction and the massive contact patch, which can be pros, also can show up on the negative side when it comes to rolling resistance. So these tires are not ideal for pavement. And again, with that massive tire volume, especially running lower tire pressures, there is a noticeable amount of self-steer, especially at lower speeds. But this is a common factor on any larger volume tire I've tested from any other brand. So I would not recommend these tires for you if you're riding a lot of pavement, hard-packed dirt, fast flowy trail riding, or doing a lot of climbing. The slightly smaller and much lighter 120 TPI 26 by 4.8 inch Snowshoe XL would be a better option for those conditions while still remaining highly capable in the snow. Now these tires are e-bike approved, so if you have an electrified bike that can offset some of that weight and rolling resistance, these tires would be a fantastic option. I will be getting this bike with these tires into the Colorado backcountry this summer. I will be really curious to test them in those conditions, knowing that there will be some cons on the climbing side of the spectrum, but curious to test them going downhill at higher speeds in steep, technical, rocky terrain. Now onto what was my primary desire to want to test these tires, backcountry snow. I still love riding fat bikes all year round in all types of conditions. It's one of the reasons I ended up building a second ice cream truck with much lighter weight in mind, designed to perform much better in faster snow and dirt conditions. But this bike behind me, which is my original 2020 ICT, is built to be the most capable in the worst possible conditions, especially backcountry snow. As a result of that, I want the largest volume, most aggressive tires possible, knowing full well of all the trade-offs already mentioned, and these tires did not disappoint. So starting off with some pros in the snow, unsurprisingly, especially running very low pressure, these tires were just amazing in the snow. On the mixed-use winter trails that I was testing these on, which can really get beat up by post-holers hiking without snowshoes, and then followed up by some freeze-thaw cycles, these tires just soaked up all of that roughness, much like they did in dirt performance. The tread pattern on these tires also has insane grip. Starting from a stop in the snow, even on a slight incline, was no issue at all. I would typically have to do this with my dropper seat post down so I could get some weight on the rear tire when I started pedaling. But just for testing purposes, I was even doing this unweighted, which means hopping on the bike as I did the first pedal downstroke, and the tires performed great. So if you're someone who's not adopted a dropper seat post to their fat bike for winter riding yet, which I think is an essential upgrade, and I do have on this bike, these tires are very forgiving and effective, getting rolling under power without a dropper. If you've watched any of my previous videos testing tires in the snow, to me the key test for how good a tire is side slope conditions. I've had otherwise good tires fail on this test before, So to me, it's the one that really separates the best tires from everything else. And for me, riding in the backcountry, having tires that can handle side slope is the difference between an enjoyable ride and washing out or having to do hike-a-bike. The Snowshoe 2XL performed amazingly well in side slope conditions, and I ended up getting so confident with it that I stopped being prepared to put a foot down in those areas when I approached it. So overall, the snow performance of these tires in backcountry conditions was fantastic. As for some cons in the snow, in my mind, I can't say there really were any really bad aspects of these tires in the snow. At least for the type of riding I'm typically doing, which is just more casual and for fun, and often facing unpredictable, if not sometimes poor riding conditions. These are the kind of tires that excel in that scenario. Now, if your snow riding is primarily fast, groomed trails, or certainly if you're racing your fat bike, these tires still will exhibit the same kind of weight penalty and to a lesser extent, a rolling resistance penalty in those conditions. And that would simply be solved by choosing smaller, lighter, faster rolling tires that offer enough traction in fast groomed conditions. But again, these aren't really factors for me. One thing to be aware of when you are gonna fit massive tires that are gonna push the clearance of your fat bike, and this Surly ICT can handle these tires with no issue, but obviously there's less frame clearance that I have running smaller tires on this bike. It will be less forgiving in situations where the snow is wet or you're riding through water and then into the snow and the snow is caking up on the tires. You do need to be aware of that it could rub on your frame, which would obviously be a drag on performance. So to wrap things up, at this stage I can say the Snowshoe 2XL does everything it's intended to exceptionally well. And any of the negative attributes I've mentioned are fairly obvious just based on the realities of tire technology these days and knowing your riding conditions and applications. I would absolutely recommend these tires for anyone that desires maximum capability in the worst conditions and a tire that is also highly durable. And again, as I previously mentioned, these would make a great fit for an e-bike where you can offset some of the negative attributes of the bigger, heavier tire. You just need to make sure your e-bike frame can clear the massive tire volume. And again, if you are weight conscious and require the fastest rolling fat bike tire, these tires would not be for you. So if you have any questions or comments or want to relay your own experience with these tires, drop that down in the comments down below. If you found this video useful, drop a like down below. It does really help out the channel. And if you want to see more fat bike or MTB content, including more with this bike and these tires, subscribe to the channel to follow along. Lots more coming, so stay tuned. Thanks a lot and have a great day.